Okay, so if no question, let's move on. So here I'm going to talk about 3 types of social entrepreneurs and the related ethical issues. Okay, and also related, management issues. And then talk about project selection. Okay, because I see that you have come up with your individual ideas, and then you need to sit down and talk to your group members and see whose idea is the one that you should proceed. Okay, so here it involves project selection. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some screen out and screen in criteria. And then go over this case study of Celco. Okay, and also give a brief introduction of impact measurement. I think Marie is going to come back next week and talk more about impact. Okay, maybe more examples. And if I have time, I also want to briefly introduce, financial model. Okay, so as you can see, this course would involve a lot of different materials. Okay, maybe some related to social issues, some related to economic concept, some related to financial concept. Okay, so even though they involve a lot of things, but they are not that difficult to grasp. Okay, so even though you have not studied any accounting, okay, let's say you're from science background, no accounting knowledge before, still, I mean, those knowledge would be very intuitive. Okay, so we're going to walk through some of those concepts and see how you can build some financial model to analyze your potential venture. Okay. All right, so I showed you this slide last time, okay, last week. Three types of social entrepreneur. Now remember, this is again, this is a course where we want to talk about some components of research. Okay, not just doing the project. Okay, so this perhaps kind of related to research side, because it does provide some theory background. Okay. So these authors, okay, Zara, etc., right? So they have this analysis which give them some basis to say the entrepreneurs can be mainly divided into these 3 separate groups. Okay, the social bricoleur. Okay, well, it's actually a French word. Okay, bricoleur. So basically, these are the people who use whatever resources or techniques available to solve the current problems. Okay, so they don't really make a big discovery. They just focus on some small scale local social problems that they can identify, and they try to use the current tools to solve them. Okay, maybe most of the social entrepreneurs are like that. Okay, and then the social constructionist, they typically exploit opportunities and market failure, okay, by filling gaps to some underserved clients, underserved markets. Okay. Now here, we will see that they need to be very alert to some potential opportunities. Okay, so it's not just something that they observe. Okay, they actually need to be alert to some potential opportunities. Or maybe they see some technologies, technological progress has been created, and they would say, well, can we use this to solve some problems? Okay, so they need to be very alert to that kind of opportunities. Okay, and social engineers, they would recognize systemic problems within existing kind of social norm, social structures, and then they would introduce some revolutionary change. Okay, so these are the people who often destroy the old systems. Okay, and replace them with newer and more suitable ones. Okay, so this table, I don't think you can see that on your screen. Well, maybe your vision is better than mine anyway. So so here you can see, well, sorry. Here you can see that on the first column, they have like theoretical inspiration. Okay, where does these three different entrepreneurs, where do they draw the theoretical inspiration? Okay, and then what do they do, right? What do they do differently? And in terms of scale, scope, and timing, is there any difference among these three types of individuals? Okay, and why they are necessary? Okay, and social significance, and effects on social equilibrium, and source of discretion and limits to discretion. Okay, so I'm not going to go into details to every cell, but I will talk about some of them. Okay. So in terms of theoretical inspiration, okay. So for the brick color, okay, they draw the inspiration from Hayek's 1945 research paper, okay, published in American Economic Review. So the use of knowledge in society. Okay, so if you read that paper, Hayek emphasized a lot about local knowledge. Okay, local knowledge, and contextual information. Okay, so I think that's something we are lacking here. Okay, I see that in some of your individual introspection, you tell me some of your observation, previously. Okay, but you really have to have the detailed local knowledge before you can really identify what the problem is. Okay. So for me, for example, caring for old parents, okay, is a big issue, right? Okay, I think some of you have mentioned that and try to come up with solutions. For me, I just came back from visiting my mom, okay, in Anhui, and I knew that there was a big issue, okay. So basically, my mom lives with my sister and sister-in-law. Both of them work full-time, okay. So we have some helper who helps during some hours of the day, but typically not overnight, okay. So in the evening, then my sister would need to take care of my mom, who is very sick, okay, very sick. So I can see that sometimes my sister can barely sleep for an hour or so, but then in the early morning she has to teach 2 hours of classes. Okay, so that's very exhausting, and I cannot even think that that's sustainable. Okay, And maybe you can, you know, maybe you ask, why don't you hire someone else and to spend the night and take care of, you know, sick mother? Well, the problem is it's difficult to find. Okay, it's difficult to find trustworthy and helpful people to take care of, you know, the old parents when they are really sick. Okay. So it is a problem. It is a social problem, and I don't think I have found the solution yet. Okay, but some of you might be trying to do that. Okay, so for that I have, you know, the local knowledge. I knew exactly what's happening there, and you know, what kind of solutions can exist. Okay. So for example, hiring somebody to take care of your old parents. I have tried that before and it actually didn't work. Okay, so that was actually on my father's case. I hired someone, but who was not hired two actually, who didn't really help. And you know, my father died several years ago. So you know, this local knowledge is important, okay, for these social bricoleurs, and then you know, we know that this is a problem, and we know that it needs a solution, and we haven't found a good solution yet. Okay, so the entrepreneurship opportunities comes from the local level. Okay, that's Hayek's argument. Okay. Which other people may disagree, okay, which is the next few slides, okay? And also local knowledge is usually tested in nature, okay? So have you heard of this word, tested? What is the difference between tested and codified? Anyone? What is tested knowledge? What is codified knowledge? Okay, so codified knowledge is something that's, you know, written in a book, and once you read it, or read it in a, you know, written in a document. Okay, so once you read it, you get it, and you know how to use it. Okay, for example, maybe some mathematical formula. Okay, so you learned it, then you know it. Okay, you know how to use it, and it's also easy to transmit. Okay, you just send the PDF to somebody else, right? And then you know, so so in fact, for Paul Romer, you know, the Nobel Prize winner, and also my supervisor, he would be saying that we should spend a lot of time trying to produce the codified knowledge, okay? Because that kind of knowledge can be transmitted quickly and easily, okay? So we should spend a lot of time to simplify the document to make it more easily accessible as a piece of codified knowledge. Okay, so for us as an educator, we should spend, if I spend 1 extra hour to make my exposition a bit clearer, it's going to benefit a lot of people who read that document or who, you know, view the slides, okay, view the presentation, right? So those are the codified knowledge. The tested knowledge is something more implicit, is something that you need to master by providing hours, by actually observe, by actually practice, okay? For example, driving. Okay, no matter how many hours you spend reading the driver's manual, okay, until you know, sit behind the wheel and drive for 30 hours, I mean, otherwise you don't know driving. You don't feel comfortable driving. Okay, so those would be the tacit knowledge, right? Okay, playing piano, right? Etc. So those local knowledge are typically tacit knowledge. You only know them when you're really in that situation, okay, or surrounded by that situation. You observe everything, you immersed in it, and then you gain knowledge, okay. You use, you understand the local environmental condition, and you use the locally available resources to solve the problem, okay. Now, Kirzner's book, Competition and Entrepreneurship, written in 1973, argues that that's not always the case, okay? And sometimes you need to be alert to opportunities for new goods and services, okay? Maybe some new technologies are there. For example, Didi Dache, right? The Didi taxi service, okay? Previously, it's not thinkable, okay? But later, when the GPS technology, when all these online apps can be developed, it made it possible to have this kind of businesses, okay? So the entrepreneurs need to be bold and innovative, systematic changes in expectation concerning ends and means, what you want to solve, and what kind of tools you have available, and what new tools you need to develop, okay? What new technologies can create a new market for you, okay, to provide the goods and services that are potentially in demand, okay? So sometimes you create the demand, you create the product, and then there's a demand. But you need to first imagine that there is a demand. Of course, you would probably do a survey first and say, if I come up with this product, would you be interested? Okay, if I come up with this service, would you be interested? Right? And keywords in Schumpeter's 1942 book, Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy. Now, this one, I think most of you have heard the phrase, okay, creative destruction, okay? Creative destruction. And Schumpeter would see entrepreneurs as the prime movers of innovation and change, okay? And the entrepreneurs innovate for the sake of innovation, okay? They just enjoy this. And of course, they also see the old systems as something that need to be changed, okay? So this is the creative destruction, okay? So this is kind of the theoretical inspiration provided by these three scholars, okay? So what do they do? Well, for the bricklayer, they perceive and act upon opportunities to address a local social needs, okay, local social needs. For the social constructionists, they build and operate alternative structures to provide goods and services addressing social needs that governments, agencies, and business cannot. Okay, so they address government failure and market failure. Okay, and Schumpeter, the creation of newer, more effective social systems designed to replace existing ones when they are ill-suited to address significant social needs. Okay, so you see that they have kind of different emphasis in terms of what they do. Okay, and also in terms of scope, bricklayer is small, and the social constructionist is somewhere in the middle, and the social engineer would be very large scale. Okay, very large scale. etc. So you can go through this. So this is a table from from this paper by Zara and others. Okay, so you can go and take a look at this table and subsequent explanations on many of these. Okay, many of these cells. Okay. Okay, so here I'm trying to, because those are very, very abstract and really not that easy to grasp, to understand. Okay, well, even now I don't think I fully understand all these different types, because sometimes there may be, I cannot say definitely which one is which. Okay, some of them are easy. For example, the example that I give you here, social brick color. Okay, so I read like 100 cases of social entrepreneurship in Japan. Okay, so there's a website which talk about 100 social enterprises in Japan, and one of them was a small company provide counseling services to those in need after the big tsunami in Japan. Okay, remember, there's big tsunami in Japan. Lots of people were killed, houses destroyed. Okay, so there are many people whose family was just broken. Okay. So then, the founder saw the need to provide counseling services to those people who were seriously affected. Okay. So that seems to fit the definition of this social brick color, right? So this is local. This is something that the funder just observed and just provide the service, provide counseling service. So this is not really that innovative. Okay, so the tools are already there. She just need to hire some people and maybe some volunteers to provide services to these people in need. Okay. And for social constructionists, so I found this one example, which is the 2presents.com. This is in fact one of the firms who were used as partner by Marie in her teaching of the MBA course, for the management course. So this company, what does this company do? 2presents. Well, this company observed that there are some big problems in Hong Kong, in the sense that all these kind of birthday parties, the kids would receive a lot of gifts, but they don't really enjoy that. Okay, some of the gifts they don't need or they don't like, right? And those would be wasted. Okay, and also they think that the birth parties should be more meaningful, rather than just a bunch of kids, just watch a movie together or just eat together, etc. So this company wanted to make this kind of birthday celebration more meaningful. So what they did is to allow the birthday boy or birthday girl to name some of the kind of the donation projects that they like to support. Okay, so maybe some countryside in a developing country. Okay, maybe the children didn't have enough stationery, didn't have enough pens and pencils and notepads, etc. So then the birthday girl can name the project that they like to support, and then ask the guests who are willing to give a gift to just send the money to the company, 2 presents, and then this birthday girl can use maybe half of it to buy the gift that she wants, and then the other half would be sent to the charity. Okay, so it teaches the kid, the value of giving, giving to people, helping the poor. So make the kind of the celebration, birthday celebration, more meaningful. So what do you think? I put it in this category, social constructionist, because even though it is local in Hong Kong, the idea can catch on. I mean, can also be put in place in other cities, in other developed regions. Okay, where they can help the poor in other countries, in other economies. Okay, but you probably disagree. Okay, you may think that this actually belonged to the first, the social brick collar. Okay, and for social engineer, one of the famous example is Muhammad Yunus. Okay, the Nobel Prize winner for Peace Prize in 2006. The video that Marie showed you last time, right? Talked about him. Okay, so you can consider him as a social engineer because before him, like 1% of the loans goes to women. Okay, but after him, in fact, he gives almost all the loans to the women. Okay, as put them into small groups of 5, and then kind of make loan to them. So he kind of changed the landscape of lending in Bangladesh. Okay. So who did he help with this platform, with his Grameen Bank? Who did he help? And who did he hurt? So who would be against him? Anyone?
Yeah, I think he actually helped the whole family of the family that cannot get enough lending from the normal banking, who I think get resist from this idea is I think the stakeholders that actually do those kind of lending, like the traditional banking.
Well, the traditional banking actually don't lend to them.
Okay.
So who were lending to these?
Or some illegal lender?
Well, it may be illegal, or maybe just
or private, yeah.
Gray area. Okay, so these are the ones we call kind of loan sharks, or private money lenders. Okay, so they charge obscenely high interest rates, right? Okay. Now, for the banks to lend, what do they need? If you want banks to lend to you,
credit.
What do you need to provide?
The return.
You will need a bank account, which is not always easy to get.
Okay, so if you have a bank account, that's enough?
A collateral also, you need to get a collateral to collect the loan from the bank.
Yeah, the collateral, right? the collateral. But in many of the developing countries, I mean, the collateral does not come by easy, even though you own your land. Okay, it's difficult to put it up as collateral because there may not be enough, legal infrastructure which make your piece of land, able to serve as collateral. Okay, so even though all the villagers agree that you own that piece of land, but if you don't have the legal document which says that you own it, then you cannot use that as collateral. Okay, so if you don't have the institution there, then it's hard to use collateral. It's hard to have the collateral for usage to take out loans. Okay, so what Muhammad Yunus did was to just forget about all these legal kind of protection, okay, by the collateral. Rather, he makes use of trust and the peer pressure. Okay, so that's why he uses, 5 women in a group. Okay, so if one of them cannot pay, then all the other 4 cannot take out the loans later. Okay, so this is one mechanism by Yunus. Okay, what I heard of the story in China is that sometimes the person would make a loan, or maybe this small loan company would make a loan to this family, and then he would have this big check, drawn there, 100,000 renminbi, okay, and then 敲锣打鼓, right? So make a big scene. So everybody knows that this family takes out 100,000 yuan in loans, okay, and then whenever this person, this family cannot repay, he would hire maybe a couple of ladies to sit in front of the door and just wait, just every day, just there, embarrassing the family. Okay, so that's the kind of mechanism that they use to make sure that their payments were met. Okay, so this is the example of a social engineer. Okay, so basically destroyed the old loan sharks world. Okay, and replaced it with something that's more accessible and more tolerable by the poor family. Okay, so that they can actually take out loan and use that to generate income, to pay back the loans and right. Okay, but even for this case, when he started, he was still just a social bricklayer, right? He was just making a loan of $27 to 42 women, right? So that was like the initial trial. Okay, so that's like, there's three types could reflect the effective roles social entrepreneurship plays at different points in the life of their ventures. Okay, so even for Muhammad Yunus, at the beginning, he might be just one of the social bricklayers and see that, the villagers are having trouble creating a business because they cannot take out any loans. Okay, but eventually you see that this business can be scaled up, okay, and can be, life-changing. Okay, so then it changes the whole system. Okay, introduce all these microfinance. Okay. So let's answer this question, and then we're going to take a break. Okay. So question: which type does Teach for America belong to? Does anyone know this program, Teach for America? Okay, so Teach for America is this
For Hong Kong?
nonprofit? Sorry.
Yeah, just a comment. There is also a company called Teach for Hong Kong.
So it may be
I think it's a similar business,
modeled
similar business
after,
model. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a nonprofit institution which actually go recruit the top talents in top universities. Okay, and then ask them to teach even the young kids. Okay, the primary school, elementary schools. Okay, so these top talents in these top universities would be given like a few weeks of training during the summer, and then they will be sent to the poorest districts. Okay, 52 poorest districts, you know, to go into those classrooms and teach. Okay. In fact, one of my good friend, his son was schooled in Harvard. Okay, Harvard math graduate. So after obtaining his undergraduate degree, he signed up for this Teach for America program and went to teach, the young kids for 2 years. Okay, so this is a 2-year program. Okay, so you might be thinking, who is going to want to do that? But in fact, lots of people actually, not because that they cannot find jobs. Okay, just because they are interested. Okay, maybe they listened to these recruitment sessions by Teaching for America. Okay, and then, well, of course, Teaching for America would show them the statistics and see, look, our alumni, what they do, the program is attractive. And in fact, the acceptance rate for this job is like between 10% to 15%. Okay, 10 to 15%. So it's not it's very difficult to get, actually. Okay, so this program, Teach for America, which one does it belong to? Social blue collar, social constructionist, social engineer? What do you think? Well, in some of the years, they actually, they have more than 10,000, 10,000, they actually call them leaders, okay? 10,000 young leaders who joined this program to Teach for America, okay? And 52 districts all over the country. So what do you think, where they belong to?
I really feel it all depends on the final accomplishments of this project itself. For instance, like many students in those remote areas, life has been changed by this project. It could be categorized into the third group, social engineer.
Okay.
But if like those kind of young leaders are just going to those areas to teach the students, but at the end of the day, they do not really make any contribution to that area itself. It may be, it may just belong to the second group, social constructionist, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Any other opinion?
I think it belongs to the second group because I think for me their impact seems to be a bit localized. Maybe in America, but I don't know. That's why because
You want it to be worldwide. Well,
because-
actually, if teaching for Hong Kong is modeled after them, then they already achieved some, global impact, right?
Yeah, because I kind of feel like, for example, like Mohammed Yunus being a social engineer,
Yeah.
the microfinance model now is like a global phenomenon. Everybody is doing it. So it seems like giving Teach for America that title for me seems to be a bit too early. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Right. So, okay, I think you need to ask two questions, right? So first of all, who are the beneficiaries? So who are the beneficiaries?
Oh, those
Children?
Okay, you think those children are beneficiaries? You need evidence, actually. In fact, there are some criticism who say, well, these so-called young leaders, they are only trained for 5 weeks. They are not really that qualified to teach the primary school students, elementary students. Okay, so if you think that they are benefiting the students, you need to come up with evidence. Okay, so luckily, later on, there was another study which shows that compare them with other, so it's a controlled experiment. It's like a controlled experiment. So compare the classes taught by the young leaders from this program and with the other teachers in the same school. They did not find anything worse. Okay, in fact, some of them are better in terms of the teaching outcome. Okay, so let's say they do a reasonably good job. Okay, and given that those poor regions can hardly attract very good teachers to go there, then this program, as you said, is beneficial to those kids. Okay, so that's one benefit, one set of beneficiaries. What are other beneficiaries? What about the young leaders themselves? Okay, again, you need to take a look at the statistics, right? You need to see whether after the program, what they do, do they continue to have a successful career or not, right? So those are the kind of things you need to collect. So Teach for America works very hard in collecting those data. Okay, but first, before we say which type they belong to, we need to argue that Teach for America is in fact a social enterprise, right? We are talking about these social entrepreneurs, right? So, 3 types of social entrepreneurs. So first we have to say Teach for America is a social enterprise. Is it a social enterprise? Is it social enterprise? Well, I mean, then we need to look at what's the definition of social enterprise, right? So if you look at the definition of social enterprise, you see that there are 20 of them. Okay, so maybe according to some of the definitions, it is. Okay, it is in the sense that they do provide, they do have a social mission. Okay, provide a social function, solve some social issues. The poorest districts got very good, well-educated teachers, right? But are they some kind of business? Okay, do they use business models? Well, then you need to look at, whether they have incomes from the market. Okay, in fact, they do. Okay, So they have, 86 million, which is other income. A part of this other income is like the finder fee. This is called finder fee. So if I find a young leader and assign to your school as teacher, you need to pay me something like 4,000 US dollars. Okay, so that's called finder fee. Okay, so they charge a finder fee. Okay, but majority of their, their revenue is from government support, is from private donation. Okay, so this is the kind of money that they raise every year. Okay, so this is the 326 million US dollars. That's the revenue, and these are the expenses. Okay, expenses for providing charitable service, and also pay the management and general expenditure, right? Because they need to pay the the people who are managing these things. Okay, and then for fundraising events. Okay, so it depends on what your definition is. If you define a social enterprise as an entity that's going to draw more than 50% from the market, then Teach for America is not a social enterprise. Okay, so if you have that kind of stringent requirement, then it's not. Okay. So let's come back to the assessment, whether they are a social engineer or not. Okay. Well, first of all, they claim that, or many others would say, this is one of the most successful social entrepreneurship. Okay. So they did a lot. Okay. So today it's becoming a global movement, expanding to teach for all and embrace a greater purpose, to developing collective leadership to ensure all children have the opportunity to fulfill their potential. Okay. So it depends. Okay.